Welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes you read something and it just stays with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened to me with this passage from Isaiah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called The Divine Invitation to Reason.
Okay.
And it's just packed with vivid imagery and challenging ideas.
I see.
We're going to unpack it all together and see what makes it so powerful even thousands of years later.
It's really remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
This section, Isaiah 1.1-20, it really captures the heart of the entire book. It's like a microcosm of Isaiah's message, judgment, and mercy, kind of all intertwined.
So we're talking ancient Hebrew texts here.
Right.
I had to bring in an expert to help us navigate all of this. You've provided some seriously in-depth scholarly work on this passage,
I appreciate that.
and I'm excited to dive in. But before we get lost in the metaphors, can you give us the lay of the land? What's the context here?
Imagine Isaiah 1 as a courtroom drama.
Okay.
God is putting Israel on trial for their sins. There's a divine summons, a list of accusations, even a rejection of their empty rituals.
Okay.
It's pretty intense. And then right in the middle of all this back and forth, this legal back and forth, we get this really unexpected invitation to reason.
Okay, wait. So God is the judge,
Yeah,
but he's also offering a chance to talk things out.
exactly.
That's not how most trials work.
Exactly. And that's what makes this passage so striking. It's deliberately placed at the center of the chapter, like the turning point of the entire drama. The source material even points out this really neat literary device called a chiastic structure. Think of it like a mirror image. The most important point is right in the middle.
Oh.
And that's where this invitation to reason sits.
So structurally, it's clear that this invitation is really meant to stand out. But what really caught my eye was this metaphor that Isaiah uses. Scarlet and crimson dyes being transformed to white.
Yeah.
I'm picturing these vibrant, almost bloody colors.
Oh, yeah. Those colors would have held a very deep significance for the original audience. You see, to get those shades, they used dyes derived from insects and snails. And let me tell you, those dyes were notoriously difficult to remove.
Oh, wow.
Once something was dyed scarlet or crimson, that was it. There was no going back.
So to hear that these permanent stains representing sin could be made white as snow, that's not just poetic.
No.
It's like a technological miracle in their world.
Precisely. It would have seemed impossible.
Right.
And that's the point. Isaiah's emphasizing the supernatural nature of God's offer here.
Right.
He's not just talking about forgiveness, wiping the slate clean.
Mhm.
He's talking about complete transformation.
Yeah.
Something that goes beyond human capability.
Yeah, I'm sensing a theme here. God going above and beyond what we expect. But
Yeah.
let's unpack that metaphor a bit more.
Yeah.
That feeling of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems to stick with you no matter how hard you try to scrub it away.
Yeah.
That's that scarlet stain Isaiah's talking about.
Exactly.
And he's saying that God can not only remove that stain, but he can make you whiter than snow.
It's more than just a fresh start.
Yeah.
It's about being made righteous, restored to a state of purity.
Huh.
This idea of sin as a stain that needs cleansing, it actually appears throughout the prophets.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremiah talks about the stain of guilt, and Ezekiel actually uses colors of luxury to contrast with the eventual downfall of Tyre.
So it's like they're using these everyday images, things that people could relate to, dyeing cloth, washing clothes,
Yeah.
to explain these deep spiritual truths.
Exactly. It makes the message both accessible and impactful.
Right.
They're taking something familiar and turning it into this powerful metaphor for the human condition.
Okay, so we've got this image of sin as this stubborn stain.
Yeah.
And God offering to make us white as snow.
Yeah.
But what about this whole reasoning together thing? That's where things get really interesting to me.
Yeah.
It feels almost, audacious.
It is. The Hebrew word that's used here, it suggests a genuine willingness for dialogue, for back and forth exchange.
Oh, wow.
And that's a really radical departure from the typical covenant lawsuit pattern that we see throughout the Old Testament.
Really?
In those, God lays out the case and he delivers the judgment.
Right.
No arguments, no appeals.
So it's like God is breaking the rules of his own courtroom.
Yeah.
So instead of just pronouncing the guilt and punishment, he's saying, let's talk this through. I find that's incredibly moving.
Yeah.
This idea that God wants to engage with us on that level.
It suggests a level of respect for human agency,
Yeah.
but it also raises some pretty profound questions.
Like what?
Well, what does it even mean to reason with the divine.
Right.
Do we have something to bring to the table in this exchange?
Yeah.
What is God looking for from us?
You've given me a lot to think about already. But I can't help but notice the contrast. We have this judge who's also like an advocate, this God who offers cleansing, but also invites us to reason. It's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's a beautiful paradox. God takes the initiative, reaching out to humanity.
Right.
And yet he also condescends, kind of lowering himself to meet us where we are. And within that paradox, there lies just an incredible promise, the possibility of transformation.
But that transformation, it's not a free pass, right?
Yep.
Isaiah makes it clear that there are consequences to our choices.
Exactly. The passage actually has this if-in structure,
Yeah.
much like the blessings and curses we see in Deuteronomy. It's like a divine deal.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow God's ways, there will be abundance, or as Isaiah puts it, plenty to eat.
I like that.
But if you choose to rebel, well, the consequences are pretty dire.
He even uses that image of being devoured by the sword, that's pretty intense.
It is.
It's like there's this double-edged sword at play here.
Yes. The sword can represent both God's judgment and the consequences of our own actions.
I see.
It's a reminder that our choices have real-world implications, both for ourselves and for those around us.
Okay, so we've established the context,
Huh.
the imagery, the paradoxical nature of God's invitation. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's time to dive deeper into the language itself.
Okay.
Isaiah was a master wordsmith, and the way he constructs these verses is just as important as the message itself.
Right.
For example, he uses this literary technique called antithetical parallelism.
Oh yeah, the source mentioned that. It's like he's highlighting the contrast, right?
Right.
Scarlet to snow, crimson to wool.
Exactly.
It's more than just a change of color. It's a complete reversal.
Exactly. And it reinforces this idea of returning to a state of original purity.
Yeah.
Remember, scarlet and crimson were dyes added to the natural wool.
Right.
So God is offering to strip away the stain and reveal the purity beneath.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to put it. It's like he's saying, let's get back to the essence of who you truly are.
And the way Isaiah arranges these verses, it's not random. There's this intricate structure called a chiasm,
Okay.
where the ideas are presented in a mirror image, further emphasizing the key points.
Wow.
And the problem of sin, the solution of cleansing, the choice that we face, and the ultimate consequences.
It's incredible how much thought and artistry went into crafting these verses.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate the power of language and how it can be used to convey such profound truths.
And that's what makes Isaiah such a compelling prophet. He's not just delivering a message, he's crafting an experience, using language to draw us in, make us really feel the weight of his words.
I'm definitely feeling the weight of these words. But I have to ask, what does all of this mean for us today? This passage is thousands of years old. How does it apply to, like, our lives in the 21st century?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think that's a perfect place to pick up in part 2 of our deep dive. We were just talking about how this ancient passage from Isaiah, with its vivid imagery and challenging ideas, can still speak to us today.
Right, because honestly, who hasn't felt that weight of guilt? That like scarlet stain that just won't go away no matter how hard we try.
Yeah.
Isaiah is offering a really powerful message of hope here.
Yeah.
Saying that even the deepest stains can be washed clean.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that genuine change is possible, but not through, our own efforts alone. It requires this willingness to engage in dialogue with the divine, to acknowledge our need, and to really embrace the possibility of being made white as snow.
When I first read this passage, I really focused on like the individual aspect of it, like my own personal scarlet sins. But you mentioned earlier that the you in this passage actually refers to the nation of Israel as a whole.
That's an important point. This passage isn't just about, individual salvation.
Right.
It's about the collective responsibility of a community that's bound by covenant.
Right.
When Isaiah talks about, obedience and rebellion, he's talking about the impact that our choices have on those around us.
So it's not just about like cleaning up our own act.
No.
But about contributing to the well-being of the entire community.
Exactly.
Actions or words or choices, they all kind of ripple outwards, impacting the fabric of society.
Precisely. And that's where the idea of reasoning together kind of takes on this whole new dimension.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about our personal relationship with God, but about engaging in dialogue with each other,
Right.
seeking understanding, and really working together to create a more just and compassionate world.
So Isaiah is basically saying that transformation isn't just like a personal journey. It's a collective effort, which, let's be real, can be a lot messier and more challenging
Right.
than just focusing on our own individual growth.
Of course. But that's where the true power of this passage lies.
Right.
It's not just about escaping punishment.
Right.
It's about actively participating in the creation of something beautiful, something that really reflects the heart of God.
This idea of transformative justice that you mentioned earlier, it feels particularly relevant today, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, our world often focuses on like punishment and retribution,
Yeah.
but Isaiah is offering this different perspective.
Absolutely. It's not about simply punishing wrongdoing.
Right.
About restoring wholeness.
Okay.
About healing the brokenness that sin creates.
Yeah.
This resonates deeply in our current social and political climate, where we're grappling with these issues of justice, of accountability, and reconciliation. Isaiah 1:20, it invites us to think beyond, these simplistic solutions, and to really consider a more nuanced approach, one that really integrates both justice and mercy.
It's a reminder that even in the face of like deep division and seemingly irreconcilable differences, there's always that possibility of dialogue, of seeking understanding,
Right.
and working towards a shared future where transformation and healing can occur. It's inspiring, but also a bit daunting.
It is, but remember, we don't have to do this alone.
Right.
This passage really points to the transformative power of divine grace. The idea that even the deepest stains can be washed clean.
So it's about acknowledging our own need for transformation,
Yeah.
individually and collectively,
Yeah.
and trusting in something larger than ourselves,
Right.
to help us get there.
And that trust, it isn't passive.
Right.
It requires action,
Yeah.
a willingness to walk the path of obedience,
Right.
to really align our will with God's will. As Isaiah reminds us, the choice is ours to eat the good of the land or to be devoured by the sword.
Wow, those are some stark choices. It's like we're constantly being presented with these forks in the road, and each decision we make, it contributes to shaping the kind of world that we live in.
But the beauty of this passage is that it doesn't just, present us with a set of rules or a list of consequences. It offers this vision of hope, of a world transformed by God's grace and mercy.
Right.
It invites us to be part of that transformation, to be agents of healing, of reconciliation.
That vision of a healed and reconciled world is it's something we could all use a little more of these days.
Yeah.
But how has this passage from Isaiah, written, thousands of years ago,
Yeah.
how has it influenced history and shaped our understanding of things like sin, redemption, justice? The source material mentioned its impact on religious traditions, on literature, and even on theological concepts.
The imagery of Isaiah 1:18-20 has really resonated throughout history. For instance, the use of white garments in baptismal ceremonies symbolizes the cleansing and newness of life that this passage speaks of.
Oh, right. And the concept of sin as a stain.
Yes.
It's been explored in countless literary works and artistic expressions, really shaping our understanding of guilt, of redemption, of the human condition.
Theologically, this passage has contributed to key concepts like regeneration.
Okay.
The idea of being born again spiritually, and the understanding of divine forgiveness as not just a pardon, but a complete transformation.
So even though it's this ancient text, it's still very much alive, right? Shaping the way we think and talk about these fundamental human experiences.
It's a testament to the enduring power of Isaiah's words. They speak to something deep within us, something that resonates across time and cultures, a longing for wholeness, a desire for transformation, a hope for a world where justice and mercy really prevail.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the nitty-gritty details of ancient dyeing techniques
Yeah.
to these big sweeping ideas about justice, mercy, and the possibility of a transformed world. But this passage also feels intensely personal. It's like Isaiah is speaking directly to each of us,
Yeah.
challenging us to confront our own scarlet sins and to choose the path of transformation.
And that's the beauty of these ancient texts. It can speak to us on multiple levels, challenging us intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally.
Right.
They invite us to wrestle with these difficult questions, to engage in honest self-reflection, and to ultimately make choices that align with our deepest values and aspirations.
So what practical steps can we take to apply these profound ideas to our everyday lives? How can we move beyond simply appreciating the poetry and the imagery of Isaiah 1.1820 and actually live out its message of transformation and hope?
That's a great question, and I think it's one that deserves further exploration. Perhaps that's where we should pick up in part 3 of our deep dive.
So we've been going deep with this powerful passage from Isaiah, uncovering all the layers of meaning and symbolism, and really grappling with what it means for us, both as individuals and as a society.
Right. It challenges us on so many levels. It pushes us to look at our own shortcomings, but it also offers this incredible vision of hope and transformation.
We left off last time talking about practical applications.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, it's easy to get caught up in the poetry and the big ideas. But how do we actually live out this message? Reasoning together and embracing transformation in our everyday lives.
It starts with a willingness to actually engage in that dialogue, both with God and with each other. Remember that Hebrew word we discussed? It implies this back and forth, this genuine exchange of ideas.
Right.
It's about really listening, even to perspectives that might challenge our own.
So instead of just retreating to our own echo chambers or surrounding ourselves with people who agree with us, we need to actively seek out diverse viewpoints and be open to having our assumptions challenged.
Exactly. And that takes humility, recognizing that we don't have all the answers. It means being willing to admit when we're wrong.
Right.
And learning from those who see things differently.
It sounds like a recipe for some pretty uncomfortable conversations.
It can be.
But I guess growth and transformation, they rarely happen in our comfort zones.
That's true. And if we're really serious about living out Isaiah's message, we need to be willing to step outside of those comfort zones.
Right.
And engage with the world in a way that honors both God and humanity.
So what does that look like practically? I mean, are we talking about grand gestures of social justice? Or are there smaller everyday ways to embody this idea of reasoning together?
It can be both. Certainly working towards systemic change, advocating for justice on a larger scale, those are important.
Right.
But it also shows up, in our daily interactions, in the way we treat those around us, even those we disagree with.
It's like choosing kindness over judgment.
Yeah.
Seeking understanding instead of condemnation.
Exactly.
And being willing to have those tough conversations, even when they're, uncomfortable or challenging.
Precisely. And remember that if-then structure that Isaiah presents.
Yeah.
It's not just about divine rewards and punishments. It's about the natural consequences of our choices. When we choose to walk the path of obedience, when we align our actions with God's will, it creates this ripple effect. It contributes to a more just and compassionate world.
It's like we're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And our choices, both, big and small, they have the power to shape the world around us.
And that can feel overwhelming at times.
Right.
But this passage also offers, this really profound message of hope. Remember that image of transformation, of the scarlet stain being made white as snow.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that no matter how far we've strayed, no matter how deeply we've been stained by our own choices or by the injustices of the world, redemption is always possible.
It's like being offered a clean slate, a chance to start anew. But it's not just about being forgiven.
No.
It's about being transformed.
Yeah.
About becoming becoming more like the people God created us to be.
Yeah. And that transformation isn't a one-time event.
Right.
It's an ongoing process. It's
Yeah.
about continually striving to align our will with God's will, to seek justice and mercy in all that we do, and to really contribute to the healing and reconciliation of the world.
Wow, we've really come full circle here, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
From unpacking the historical and literary context of Isaiah 1:20
Right.
to exploring its deep personal and societal implications.
And yet I suspect we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
That's the beauty of these ancient texts. They continue to reveal new layers of meaning as we grow and evolve.
It's been an incredible journey. We've talked about ancient dying techniques, courtroom dramas, divine paradoxes, the nature of sin and redemption,
Yeah.
and even what it means to reason together with God
Right.
and with each other.
And hopefully we've equipped you, the listener, with some tools and insights to kind of continue exploring this passage on your own.
Because ultimately this deep dive isn't just about like acquiring knowledge.
No.
It's about transformation. It's about taking these ancient words
Yeah,
and allowing them to shape our hearts, our minds, and our actions in the world.
that's right.
And so as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final thought. What is one small step you can take today in your own life to embody this message of Isaiah 1:18-20? What scarlet stain can you help to cleanse, either within yourself
Yeah.
or in the world around you?
It's a powerful question. And as you reflect on it, remember those words of Isaiah. Come now, let us reason together. May that invitation guide you towards transformation, towards healing,
Right.
and towards this deeper understanding of God's boundless grace and mercy.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.